Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this review, we are looking at NECA's quarter scale 30th anniversary Predator figure. This is the special edition Jungle Demon, which is the classic Predator, but with his active camouflage kind of starting to work. He's kind of invisible, kind of not, so it's kind of cool looking. It's a very unique looking figure. It's my understanding that this is an old mold that they are reusing for this figure. I'm not sure if the LEDs are new or not. You guys can let me know if you've been collecting these figures for a longer time than I have. But it does have the LEDs in it, so it doesn't really matter if they're new or not. So let's go ahead and get him off the stand and take a closer look. Okay, this guy stands just about almost exactly 19.5 inches tall. So he definitely has some size to him. He's supposed to be taller than your average human, and he is, so that's very cool. Now in terms of paint on this guy, there's not going to be a whole lot to talk about, so let's go ahead and just run through that right now. In fact, we can do it right now without even doing too much effort, putting out too much effort, because all of the paint job on this guy is essentially the same thing. It's this kind of camouflage look, and by camo I mean like the green and brown leafy pattern, and it's put on the figure to look like he's half translucent and then kind of half showing with the light refraction going on, so it's kind of a unique look. Very cool. I think it's pretty cool. I don't know how accurate it is actually, since he was pretty much just a silhouette of the same thing behind him. I don't remember him being half and half until maybe his active camo broke. Is that a thing that happened? It's been forever since I saw the movie, so I don't know if it's 100% accurate or not. You guys can let me know if that's the case, but either way, it looks really cool, and that's what's important. Most of the figure, in fact, almost all of the figure is made in the translucent plastic, which does look pretty cool. Most of it is that kind of softer, flexible material. Not as flexible as this, of course, but like for instance, for the hand, you can see like it's not super rigid, so it shouldn't break. And the good thing is that they used different plastic for the joints, so it shouldn't break at the joints either. If you guys are familiar with clear plastic, it's very easy to break, but this shouldn't have that much of an issue. There's one point, well, I guess 3 points that are technically susceptible but not likely to break. One is this guy. It really shouldn't break because of the way it's built. It should be just fine. That's a little bit of a stiffer plastic. Same thing for these guys right here. They could technically break, the extending claws. Let me raise the arm here. So yeah, these could technically break there, but they're still somewhat flexible as well. Let's see if you can see this. Yeah, see, they're not likely to break either, so I wouldn't really worry about that too much. Probably the biggest risk, and I wouldn't say it's a huge risk, but is this guy right here. There's a hinge that could easily crack, so be careful with that. This top part's a ball peg, so it won't break, but the hinge definitely could, so be aware. It is kind of loose also, so that's definitely something you want to be careful of. This piece is all a separate piece. It comes out, not on him. It comes in the package. You have to put it on him out of the package, so that's fine. It does peg in very nicely though. It's a very solid connection, so that's pretty good. And then the last thing I want to talk about is technically there is some paint around the eyes. It's painted to look like it's glowing even when it's not turned on, so that's pretty cool. And now we get to talk about the really fun thing. I will go over the articulation, but since it's an older figure, it's very, very basic. But I want to talk about this fun part right here, if I can get him to stand. There we go. So the next thing I want to talk about is the LEDs. Alright, so this guy has a cool feature in his head. If you push on this right here, you can turn on the LEDs for his eyes and for the little targeting thing. And there's different options for it. So we're going to see how well they show up without turning off the lights. Hopefully they work pretty well. I mean, I know they're fairly bright, so we should be good. Okay, so the first option, actually I don't know if it's the first option because I've messed with it already. So one option is to just have the eyes and the thing glowing steadily. Man, that looks really cool actually. With the lights on, it kind of like blends in with the paint and it looks awesome. I love the way they made the eyes glow on this guy. It's kind of frosted over, so it looks really nice. And then you can see the targeting system is lit up also, so that's cool. It doesn't actually throw any light forward, so you won't get your 3 dots anywhere, but it does light up red in there, so that's very cool. So that's one option. Turn it off, press it again, you get another option, which is just this thing lit up. So there's another option. Do it again. This is just the eyes lit up, which I think is probably the most practical choice. And then the last option is for the eyes to kind of pulse. So they fade on, and then they fade off. Unfortunately, it just does it the one time, so your hand's kind of involved every time you want that to happen. So I think either leave them both permanently on, or just leave the eyes on. That would probably be your best option. But boy, does that look awesome. I love it. I love the way the eyes glow on this thing. Very cool. It makes up for the fact that the figure is very old and has a lot of shortcomings when it comes to articulation. Now, we do have one other LED feature, which I'm thinking, that's why I'm not sure if the LEDs existed on the original version or not, because this feature would have worked so much better on not a clear figure. So the arm is entirely clear, okay? And we have the detonator thingy on the arm here, and you can see it has its little, symbols on there. And if you press the button on him, if I can find the button without looking, there you go. It kind of makes them glow, and it's kind of hard to see, I know. But there's one LED in the middle, so it doesn't look great for the actual symbols, but it also makes the entire arm glow, especially if you don't have harsh lights on him. It's not the best situation for having the LED in the arm. Having the clear arm kind of ruins it. So I can't really see this being utilized ever on this particular figure. Let me turn the lights back on and we'll go through the articulation. So just to kind of wrap up the electronics, the head, it's pretty awesome. They look pretty fantastic. I don't know how they could have done it any better, so I like that. The arm definitely could have been better. Problematic. Alright, so we've already talked about the blaster. It's on a hinge right here, and then has a ball peg at the top. The head is on a ball peg, so it'll look around. You do have to be careful as you're posing him, though. You might take the top of the head off. That's how you get to the battery compartment for the lights. So we'll just put that back on for now. So the head is on a ball peg. It moves around pretty well. You get decent enough range. You can lean it, which I really like. That gives one of the most important things I think in posing a figure is the ability to have the head lean. It makes it look so much more natural. You can put so much more character into the pose. So that's pretty cool. He does have his floating necklace right here. The hair is still all nice and soft, so that's not really going to get in the way too much. These guys are super soft, so they won't get in the way too much. As far as the shoulders go, we have our swivel hinges, which is really nothing new. This shoulder pad is connected to the bicep, and so it's going to kind of get in the way. You can kind of fold it up a little bit, and it is soft, but you're going to be somewhat limited into what the shoulder can do. This really shouldn't get in the way too much. There is no bicep swivel on this guy. We do have a tuber going from the shoulder pad to the forearm, but you can still bend the arm to 90 degrees without really any trouble, so that's okay. And then there is a swivel at the bicep, which does function well enough. Joint's a little bit loose though. It shouldn't really be an issue, but it is a little bit loose. The wrist is just a big ball peg, and it gives you pretty good range, so that's okay. For the torso, we have just a swivel at the waist. So it's going to be pretty minimal posability there. You can't really do too much with it. And it's also worth noting that he's kind of sculpted, twisted. You can see the abs are over here, and there's a lot more meat on this side than on this side, and it's kind of like he's stretched a little bit. So be aware of that when you're posing, but it shouldn't really be a problem. And then for this shoulder, it's the exact same thing, but with a little tiny shoulder pad that you can kind of lift up. So you can raise the arm a little bit higher. And then you have your swivel and your elbow hinge here. The gauntlet cannot rotate on either arm, by the way, so it's pretty much stuck where it is. I already showed you guys these, but we'll do it again. We have the extending claws, or blades, so that's nice. Then we have the fist hand with the ball hinge on that side. For the hips, we are definitely taking a step back in time. We have just a double swivel for the hips. We have one slanted swivel right here, and then we have another one right here. Pretty much impractical for any posing options, and his legs are almost always spread pretty far apart, so he's going to have a pretty wide base on your shelf, so make sure you've got some room for him. These guys are nice and soft, but they're not really going to need to be moved out of the way at all because of the way the hips work. This is soft as well. I don't really care for the way this is done. We have these little dangling parts from the loincloth, but they're just sculpted onto the hip, and that's kind of ugly. It's not the best design, and I'm assuming that's all because this is a really old figure, and so that's why we have some of these kind of relic designs. Let me get him standing so I can move the camera. It's a little bit of a hassle to pose him. Once you get him in a nice pose, he looks awesome on the shelf. You just have to be aware of that super old school articulation. Okay, for the knees, we do have our single swivel hinge for the knee, so it'll go back not quite 90. It's a little bit less than 90. It will rotate if that helps you at all. The knee pads are soft, even though they won't really get in the way of anything. And then the ankles are essentially just a swivel. They're technically a ball peg, but they don't have very much range. So yeah, this guy is not a figure you're going to be posing a whole bunch. It's mostly a figure that's just going to look cool on your shelf, and I think that's fine. It's kind of a high price point for that, but you're still getting a heck of a lot of figure for the price point, so I'm okay with it. Like, I'm perfectly happy just having him posed with a pretty traditional pose. I mean, it's still badass looking, and it lights up, so I'm more than okay with that. But we have to cover everything here since it is a review. Alright guys, so that'll do it. I think this is a pretty cool figure, but you're going to have to be aware of some of the limitations. I think it's pretty much going to be just one of those pieces where it looks really cool on a shelf and you don't really handle it too much. But anyway, thanks for watching guys. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. I have new videos up every single day. We talk about action figures, movies, TV shows, video games, all kinds of fun stuff. So make sure you come back for that. Give the video a thumbs up if you liked it, and in the meantime, keep collecting.